students, welcome to my channel. This is Asshal. I am a geoinformation and Earth observation science professional. I am working as a GIS and remote sensing expert and fellow researcher in methods and applications of GIS and remote sensing. I've been teaching this course for the last 2 years. So in this video lecture, I'll give you an introduction to Geography of Ethiopia and the Horn, that is chapter 1 of the course. Before starting this first chapter, let's have some points regarding the course. The aim of this course is to familiarize students with the basic geographic concepts, particularly in relation to Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa. The basic geographic concepts for geographic understanding and geographic questions or inquiry are location, direction and distance, size and scale, region, physical and cultural attributes, place, and spatial distribution. These are the basic geographic concepts. So the aim of this course is to familiarize students with these basic geographic concepts in relation to Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa. Secondly, the aim of this course is to provide students a sense of place and time, or geographic literacy that are pivotal in producing knowledgeable and competent citizens who are able to understand and analyze spatial problems and contribute to their solution. So these are the major aim of this course. When we see the course consists of 4 parts. The first part provides a brief discussion on the location, shape and size of Ethiopia, as well as the basic skills of map reading or the principles of map reading. And the second part introduce the physical background and the natural resource endowments of Ethiopia and Horn, which includes its geology and mineral resource, topography, climates, drainage and water resource, soil, fauna and flora. The third part discusses on the demographic characteristics of the country and its implication on the economic development. And the fourth and the last part of this chapter, this course, offers treatments of the various economic activities of Ethiopia and the Horn, which includes agriculture, manufacturing and the service sector. These are the 3 major sectors of economic activity. So this course consists of these 4 parts. Now let's see the objectives of this course. The objective of the course is describe the location, shape and size of Ethiopia and the Horn, explain the implications of location, shape and size of Ethiopia and Horn on the physical environment, on the socio-economic aspects, and on the political aspects. Thirdly, elaborate the major geological events, the resultant landforms, and mineral resource of Ethiopia and the Horn. The fourth objective is identify the major drainage systems and water resource of Ethiopia and their implications for regional development and integration. Fifthly, the objective of this course is develop an understanding of the climate of Ethiopia, its dynamics and implications on the livelihoods of its inhabitants. So these are the objectives of the course. Now we'll pass to the chapter 1. Chapter 1 is introduction to the geography of Ethiopia and the whole. This chapter majorly focus on the meaning, scope, terms and approaches of geography, the location, shape and size of Ethiopia and the whole, and its implication in the three aspects, especially in the environment, in the socio-economy and political aspects. Thirdly, the major focus of this chapter is the principles of basic map reading skills. All this paved the way for understanding of the geographic issues presented in this course of the succeeding chapters. Now, at the end of this chapter, the students will be able to understand the meaning and scope of geography, explain the terms of geography, and explicate the implications of location, shape, and size of Ethiopia and the Horn on the physical environment, socio-economic, and political aspects. And finally, the students will be able to acquire basic knowledge of map reading. Now we'll pass to the introductory parts. What is geography? When we say geography, the name was first appeared in the history during the Greek civilization. So in the Greek civilization, the geography name was coined by the Greek scientist or philosopher called Eratosthenes over 2,200 years ago from two words, geo, which means earth, and graphia, which means description. So the earliest definition of geography was the field of study which deals with the description of the earth. However, the scope of modern geography is beyond the description of the earth. This is because geography deals with or focus a wider area of phenomena on the Earth's surface. Many people associate the word geography simply with place and location and description of natural features, like where things are, where they be countries, deposits of natural resources, which rivers are the largest, which mountains are the tallest, which deserts are the largest. So generally, geography is much more than place names and location, or beyond the description of the earth. It is the study of spatial variations of how and why things differ from place to place on the Earth's surface. It is further the study of how observable spatial patterns evolved through time. So because of the dynamic nature of the discipline and the change in its scope and method of study, there are different definitions or meanings of geography made by different authors. This shows that it is difficult to forward a definition, a single definition acceptable to all geographers at all time and place. However, there is a working definition or acceptable as a working definition. This is geography, the scientific study of the earth that describes and analyzes spatial and temporal variations of physical, biological, and human phenomena and their interrelationships and dynamics over the surface of the earth. Now we'll pass to the scope of geography. The scope or the focus of geography, it is the extent of interest or the capacity and the limits that the subject treats. In this regard, geography is said to have a greater scope than location. It treats a wider range of phenomena on the planet Earth. Further, this subject has now acquired the status of science that explain the arrangements of various natural and cultural features on the Earth's surface. So, geography is generally it is a holistic and interdisciplinary field of study, contributing to the understanding of the changing capital structure from the past to the future. Therefore, the scope of geography is considered as the geosphere or the surface of the earth, which is the very tiny zone that is the interface of atmosphere, lithosphere, hydrosphere, and biosphere. Figure we can see the scope of geography. The geosphere is the scope of geography. This geosphere is the interface, the very tiny zone, which is the interface of atmosphere or air, and the lithosphere, which is the earth, and the hydrosphere, the water part, and the biosphere, which is the living and non-living zone. When the atmosphere is a mixture of gases that surrounds the earth and protects us by blocking out dangerous rays from the sun. Atmosphere have 4 layers. The first, the lower part of the layer of the atmosphere is troposphere, where the meteorological phenomena occur. And the second layer of the atmosphere is stratosphere, which is known by the accumulation of ozone layers. And the mesosphere is where the clouds of ice and dust are accumulated. The thermosphere is the thickest and the highest layer of the atmosphere due to X-ray and gamma rays. So the second scope of the scope of geography is the lithosphere. The lithosphere is the solid outer part of the Earth, which includes the brittle upper portion of the mantle and the crust. As you've seen, there is 3 layers of the Earth's crust, the Earth. So the inner core, the inner part of the Earth is the core, and the middle part is called the mantle, and the outermost layer of the Earth is the crust. So when we say lithosphere, it includes both the crust and the uppermost solid part of the mantle. And the third focus of geography, or the scope of geography, is hydrosphere. It includes waters on the surface, subsurface, and water vapors in the atmosphere. Biosphere. The biosphere is the life-supporting stratum of the Earth's surface, which extends from a few kilometers into the atmosphere to the deep sea vents of the ocean. So this shows that the biosphere is the part of the Earth that supports all sorts of life. Geography can be approached by considering two continuums, a human physical continuum and a topical regional continuum. So the most frequently used approach of geography is topical regional approach. Topical approach is known as the systematic approaches. This approach identifies similarities between places, and this approach is also known as the field of geography, viewing particular categories of physical or natural or human phenomena as distributed over the Earth's surface. Whereas the regional approach is the field of geography which is concerned with the association with regions of all or some of the elements and their interrelationship. Generally, this approach identifies differences between places. The next major content or the major focus of this chapter is the themes of geography. There are 5 basic themes of geography. These 5 fundamental themes has summarized by a joint committee of the National Council for Geographic Education and the Association of American Geographers are those basic concepts and topics that recur in all geographic inquiry and at all levels of instruction. The 5 basic themes of geography are location, place, human-environmental interaction, movement, and region. Location is the first themes of geography, which means that a particular place or position. It answers the questions: where is it? Location are everyday ways of assessing the space around us and identifying our position in relation to other things and place of interest. It is the starting point of all geographic study, movements, and spatial actions in everyday life. It can be of 2 types. These are absolute location and relative location. When we say the absolute location, it is also known as the astronomical or mathematical location. It states the location of places using the lines of latitudes and longitudes. Latitude and longitude. Latitudes are lines that run parallel to the equator. So these lines that run parallel to the equators are known as the latitudes. These latitudes are known as the horizontal or the y-axis, and it measures if something is north or south of the equator. North or south of the equator. So this is the equator. So if it measures if things or places are north or south of the equator. When we come to the longitude are lines that run parallel to the prime meridian. It is known as the vertical coordinate or the vertical geographic coordinate or the x-axis. So the measurement is from the prime meridian to the east and to the west direction. These two geographic coordinates also have classification. That means the latitudes are the heat zones, known as the heat zones, and the longitudes are known as the time zone. Well, so the absolute locations use these latitudes and longitude or geographic coordinates to define a certain place on the Earth's surface. So this uses generally a grid system and a global address. So it is known as the exact location of a certain place. For example, Ethiopia is located, the absolute location of Ethiopia is 3 degree up to 14.8 degree north latitudes, because this latitude measurement is from the equator to the north and from the equator to the south. So the location of Ethiopia is to the north of the equator. So the latitudes are the north, and 33 degree up to 48 degree east longitude. The longitude is to the east of the meridian. So the measurement is to from the meridian to the east and west. So Ethiopia is found to the east of meridian. So generally the absolute location of Ethiopia is this. So the second type of location is relative location. It expresses the location of countries or places with reference to location of other countries. That means vicinal countries, land masses, or water bodies. This relative location use directional words to describe, and cardinal and intermediate directions, south of, north of, east of. So these are the expression of relative location. And the second terms of geography is place. Place refers to the physical and human characteristics of a location. So this terms of geography is associated with the name of a place, the description of the features of the place, and the environmental condition of the place. So there are two aspects of a place. The first aspect is physical aspect, and the second one is the human aspect. So the physical aspects are natural features created by nature. For instance, landforms, water bodies, ecosystem. These are the natural features created by nature. So we can see example of natural features. So the water bodies, the land forms, and the ecosystem, and all these are the natural or the physical aspect of a place. And the second aspect of a place is human aspects. Human aspects are the artificial phenomena or features which are made by or created by humans. So these are the human characteristics of a place. For instance, peoples of a certain place, building, language, culture, and religions are the human aspects of. The third themes of geography or the tools through which geography can be studied is the human environmental interaction or the human earth connection. So this human environmental interaction includes three distinct aspects. These are dependency, adaptation, and modification. Generally, the human environmental interaction include resource exploitation because humans are dependent on the environment to live. So humans are dependent on natural resources. That's why it includes resource exploitation. Hazard perception, that means adaptation to the environment. So there are situations of different environmental conditions. So people's or human adapt a certain environmental condition in order to survive. And another is environmental pollution and modification. So these are known as the human environmental interaction. So these three distinct aspects are briefly discussed here. When we say dependency on the environment, it refers to the ways in which humans are dependent on nature for living. So humans are dependent on natural resource for existence. And adaptation. Adaptation refers to how humans modify themselves, their lifestyle, and their behavior to live in a new environment with new challenges. So in order to live in a new environment with new challenge, humans modify themselves. That means their lifestyles, their behavior. So this is referred to as adaptation, whereas modification is the way people modify the environment positively or negatively for their purpose and obtain benefits from the ecosystem. These ecosystems are essential for human well-being. Example, drilling holes for water, for the provision of water, building dams for the provision of energy, landscape creation for land for farming. So this is all known as modification of the environment. So the another and the fourth themes of geography is movement. Movement is a translocation of human beings, their goods, and their ideas from one end of the planet to another. There are three movements: the physical movement of people, the translocation of goods, and the flow of ideas. So the physical movement of peoples allowed the human race to inhabit all the continents and islands of the world, whereas the transportation of goods from one place on the earth to another, when we say the flow of idea, that allows the unification of the human civilization and promotes its growth and prosperity. The last or the fifth fundamental or the basic themes of geography is region. When we say a region, it is a geographic area defined by one or more distinctive characteristics, or regions are also known as groupings of geographic information. This region can be formed based on physical features, political boundaries, cultural or regional or other categories. So this region answers the question, how can the place be divided into regions? Another question that is answered by region is to what region the place belongs. So there are three types of region: the formal region or uniform region, the functional or nodal, and perceptual or vernacular regions. The formal regions are defined by facts and can be proven that it exists. The characteristics of a formal region the same throughout the space. It includes climatic zone, climate, language, country, cities. These are the formal regions. These are regions formed by facts. For instance, we can see the climatic zones. These climatic zones are formed based on facts, and it can be proven that it exists. And another one is language. Language is also a formal or uniform region. And another one is the second type of region is functional or nodal region. These regions are formed or defined by some type of function or regions. So you can take examples of utility, for instance, power station or power regions, water station, airport. These are regions which are formed or defined by some type of reason or function. So such type of region known as functional or nodal. The third is perceptual. This perceptual is a region which are defined based on opinions, not by facts, and differs from person to person. So example of functional perceptual or vernacular region is industrial region and Middle East. These are based on opinions, but they cannot be proven that it exists, or there is no clear demarcation for industrial area or when we say Middle East. So these are the three types of regions. Next major topics of this chapter is location, shape, and size of Ethiopia and the Horn. The Horn of Africa. The Horn of Africa is a region of Eastern Africa. This region is a narrow tip that protrudes into the North Indian Ocean, separating it from the Gulf of Aden. So we can see the map or the picture, the map of the Horn of Africa. This is the Horn of Africa, which is the home for Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, and Djibouti. This area or this region of Africa is called the Horn of Africa, or a region of Eastern Africa. And this region contains diverse areas. For instance, the highlands of Ethiopia, Plateau, the Ogaden Desert, and the Eritrea and Somalia coasts. The countries of this region share many common features. There is also great diversity among them. rendering each country unique in many respects. In terms of size, Ethiopia is the largest of all the Horn of African countries, while Djibouti is the smallest. Astronomically, the Horn of Africa located 18 degree north to 1 degree south latitude and 33 degree east up to 51 degree 24 minutes east longitude. Well, let's come to the location of Ethiopia. Astronomically, Ethiopia is located 3 degree north. That is absolute or the astronomical or mathematical location of Ethiopia, 3 degree north up to 15 degree north latitude and 33 degree east to 48 degree east longitude. So we can see the map of the location map of Ethiopia. So the absolute location of Ethiopia is 3 degree up to 15 degree north latitude. So to the east, Ethiopia is the Ethiopia border is Akobo. The northern border is Badime, and the east border is the tip of Ogaden, and the south is Moyale. So this is the absolute location of Ethiopia. The east-west distance is 15 degree. The east-west direction is 15 degree, which means from east to west the measurement of the degree is 15 degree, whereas the north-south is 12 degree. So this latitude and longitude extensions are important into west. The first is important for climate. That means as a result of its latitudinal extension, Ethiopia experience tropical climate. Ethiopia is found in the, which means Ethiopia is found in the tropical climate zone. So we can see from the map the latitude degree is from 3 to 15 degrees. So Ethiopia is in this area. So due to as a result of this, Ethiopia experiences tropical climate. As a result of its longitudinal extension, the time difference between the easterly and westerly, most westerly points of the country are 1 hour. So we can see this from the time zone. So Ethiopia is in +3. This is the time zone, and Ethiopia is found in the +3, and the most easterly and westerly time difference is 1 hour. Well, now let's come to the relative location of Ethiopia. When we say relative location, it means that the location of the country with reference to the location of other countries, land masses and water bodies. You can see the figure from the Horn of Africa. We can see the border countries. So Ethiopia is bordered by Eritrea to the north, Djibouti and Somalia to the east, Sudan and South Sudan to the west, and Kenya to the south. So in relation to the water bodies and land masses, Ethiopia is found in the Horn of Africa, which means Ethiopia is found in the Horn of Africa, southwest of Arabian Peninsula, south of Europe, and northwest of the Indian Ocean. So again, we can see from the figure or the map, Ethiopia is found within the Horn of Africa. This is the Horn of African countries, and southwest of Arabian Peninsula. This is the Arabian Peninsula, so Ethiopia is found southwest of Arabian Peninsula and south of Europe. Ethiopia is also found south of Europe. So, and the another description is northwest of the Indian Ocean. Northwest of the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean is around here, so Ethiopia is found northwest of Indian Ocean. And also Ethiopia is found in the Nile basin. The Nile basin is drained by the Nile rivers, which flows through 11 countries. So Ethiopia is one of the Nile basin countries. So Ethiopia is here. So there are 11 countries within this river basin. So all this is the relative, the expression of relative location of Ethiopia. The implication of the location of Ethiopia. So there are three implications. Implications on climate. So as we have seen, Ethiopia is found within the tropical climate due to its latitudinal location, and also due to the relative location of the country to the water bodies, for instance, to the Indian Ocean, the nearness, proximity, their proximity or nearness to the Indian Ocean, Red Sea, and landmass of Africa and Asia. This has also various bearings on the climatic condition of the country, and there is also implication on the socio-cultural. So the location of Ethiopia have implications on the socio-cultural condition or the socio-cultural situation of the country. So due to its proximity to the Middle East, the country Ethiopia is one of the earliest recipients of the major world regions, because the Middle East are known as the origin of the major world religions. So generally the linguistic and other cultural relationships which Ethiopia shares with neighbors reflect the influence of location, and it has also implications on the political situation of the country. The political history of the country has been considerably influenced by the geopolitical concentration of superpowers. Because of its adjacency to the Red Sea and the nearness to the Middle East, or the proximity of the country to the Middle East. So generally, as a result of this, Ethiopia has been exposed for external invasions in a number of times. Through the country resisted foreign interventions and remains free of external dominance. So the next one is the size of Ethiopia. When we see the size of Ethiopia, the country total area is approximately 1,106,000 square kilometer area, which is the eighth largest country in Africa and the 25th in the world. When we see the east-west east-west distance is about 1,657.5 kilometer, whereas the north-south distance is 1,326 kilometer. Whole portion of the country is covered by water, which is about 0.6%. The size of Ethiopia also affects both the natural and human environment of the country. So when we see this, there is advantages and disadvantages which are associated with the larger size of the country. Ethiopia possesses diverse agroecological zones. There are many agroecological zones. And the another one is a variety of natural resources. The larger size will have advantage on the depths in defense in the situation of external invasion. It's also have home for diverse culture. There are many cultures, and Ethiopia is also diversified country. This is also one of the advantages of the large size of the country. And Ethiopia own extensive arable lands. These are the advantages of Ethiopian large size. When we see the disadvantages, it demands a greater capital to construct infrastructure facilities. It requires large army to protect its territory. Due to the larger size of the country, it requires large army to protect its territory. And also it is difficult for effective administration due to its the larger size, and also it is difficult for socio-economic integration. These are the disadvantages, the possible disadvantages of the larger size of the country. Now we'll pass to the next point, the shape of Ethiopia and its implication. The next subtopic is the shape of Ethiopia and its implication. Basically, the countries of the world have different kinds of shape that can be divided into 5 main categories. These are the compact shape countries, fragmented, elongated, perforated, and protruded. These shapes have implications on defense, administration, and economic integration within the country. Whether some kinds of shape of country is advantageous to a country or not depends on many other factors. Let's see each of the shape of countries and its advantage and disadvantage. The first is compact shape countries. Distance from the center to the geographic border is relatively equal distance. Shape of country is easier for defense, socio-economic and cultural integration. Example of compact shape countries are Cambodia, and Ethiopia is also considered as a compact shape country. The second type of or shape of country is fragmented countries, that is made up of many different pieces of land, which means they are divided from their other parts by either water, land, or other countries. Such examples of countries like Philippines country is divided into many pieces by water body. So such type of country is advantageous for ports. The next one is elongated shape countries. They are geographically long and relatively narrow, like Chile. The disadvantage is lots of borders to protect, and also harder communication and more travel required. Further, diverse climates far from capital. So generally, when we say elongated shape countries, such shape countries may suffer from poor internal communications and transportation generally, and regions at north or south ends may be isolated, and also capital may lose influence over one end of the elongated states. Perforated shape countries, a country that's completely surrounded another country, like the Republic of South Africa. It's completely surrounded to other countries, Lesotho and Switzerland. So such a shape has disadvantages. The disadvantages are completely landlocked, must have everything cross through another country, so possible hospitality is mandatory or required. The last type of shape of country is protrude shape. Such countries are countries that have one portion that is much more elongated than the rest of the country, like Eritrea, Democratic Republic of Congo. So such shape of countries have advantages, like can give access to resource or easy to split. So such countries are easy to split and give access to resource. And also the disadvantage is more likely to not be culturally assimilated, and more borders to defend and communicate. So these are the disadvantages of protruded countries. Measure of compactness. There are various ways of measuring shape of countries. These measures are known as the index of compactness. This indices measure the deviation of the shape of a country from a circular shape, which is the most compact shape. Since there is no country with absolutely circular shape, those approximating a circular shape are said to be more compact. One of the measure of compactness index is area boundary ratio. This is the ratio of area of a country to its boundary length. So generally, the higher the area boundary ratio, the greater the degree of compactness. So we can use examples like we can calculate the area boundary ratio of Ethiopia. The area of Ethiopia is 1,106,000 kilometers square. The boundary of Ethiopia is 5,260 kilometers square. So the area boundary ratio is 210.27. So the compactness index based on the area boundary ratio of Ethiopia is 210.27. The next one is boundary circumference ratio. This is also known as one of the measure of the compactness index of a certain shape of country. So this boundary circumference ratio is the ratio of the boundary length of a country to the circumference of a circle having the same area as the country itself. So it measures how far the boundary of a country approximates the circumference of a circle of its own side. Therefore, the nearer the ratio to 1, the more compact the country is. So the boundary circumference ratio result, if the result near to 1 is, more the compact the country is. You can take examples. Boundary circumference ratio of Ethiopia is 1.411. Third measure of compactness index, or the compactness index, is area circumference ratio. The area circumference ratio, the area is the ratio of the area of a country to the circumference of the smallest inscribing circle. It compares the area of the country with the circumference of a circle that passes touching the extreme points on the boundary of the country. So generally, the higher the area circumference ratio, the greater the degree of the compactness. So students, you can calculate the area circumference ratio. The area of Ethiopia is here, and the circumference of the smallest inscribing circle is calculated, and the result is 5,146.46 kilometers. So the AC ratio of Ethiopia is 214.905. And the fourth measure of compactness index is area ratio. The area ratio is the ratio of the actual area of a country to the smallest possible inscribing circle, whose circumference passes through the extreme points on the boundary. Half length of the longest distance between two extreme points gives radius of the inscribing circle. So generally, the nearer the ratio to 1, the more compact the country is. So you can also calculate the area ratio of Ethiopia. The area ratio of Ethiopia is 0.5244. So the nearer to the if the ratio is nearer to 1, the more it's shows that the more the compact the country is. So generally, the Eastern African countries, or the Eastern African countries, or the Horn of African countries, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Eritrea, and Kenya, and Somalia, its area is here. The boundary is also presented. The area boundary ratio and the boundary circumference ratio and the area circumference ratio is here. So you can observe that from this you can observe that Ethiopia is more likely compact than the other countries. Last point of the major point of this chapter is the basic skills of map reading. So the basic skills of map reading, in this part we'll see what map is and the elements of a map and other important points regarding map reading. So a map is a two-dimensional scale representation of a part or whole of the Earth's surface on a flat body, such as piece of paper, blackboard, or wood or cloth. Map reading, when we say map reading, it encompasses a systematic identification of the natural and man-made features. The natural features includes all the physical features like mountains, plateaus, hills, valleys, river, ocean, rocks, plain, etc. All these are the physical or the natural features on the Earth's surface. On the other hand, the man-made features include roads, rails, buildings, dams, etc. All these are the artificial or man-made features which can be presented on a map. Although many disciplines use map, they have special significance for geographers as a primary tool. So maps can be used as a primary tools for displaying and analyzing spatial distributions, patterns, and relationships. Since these features cannot be easily be observed and interpreted in a real landscape, maps are very essential to geographers. The importance of map. A map provides the basis for making geographic details of regions represented, that is, the geographical facts of an area such as reliefs, drainage, settlement, etc. So maps are very important in making geographical details of a region or a certain place. And also the maps are very important or powerful tools for making spatial analysis of geographical facts of areas represented. Maps are also useful for giving location of geographical features by varied methods of grid reference, place, naming, etc. So maps are important for giving location of geographical features used on various disciplines like in land use planning, military science, aviation, tourism, mineral science, in population studies, geology, in economics, history, archaeology, agriculture, etc. So maps make storage of the geographical data. Maps can store geographical data. Maps are potentially used to assess reliable measures, for example, to measure geographical features. Types of maps. There are many types of maps according to their purpose and functions. For the purpose of this course, only topographical and statistical maps are considered. Now let's see what topographical and special purpose or statistical maps are. So when we see a topographical map, this is a map that portrays terrain features in a measurable ways, usually through use of contour lines, as well as the horizontal positions of the features. እነዚህ የማፕ አይነቶች ወይም የካርታ አይነቶች የመሬት ገጽታዎችን በሚለካ መልኩ የሚያሳዩ ናቸው። The vertical position or reliefs are normally represented by contour lines. On maps showing relief, the elevation and contours are measured from a specific vertical datum plane, usually using mean sea level. So generally, Topographical maps could be small scale or large scale or medium scale. So the scale is dependent on the size of the area represented. When we see the contents of the topographical map, the contents of a topographical maps depend on the purpose of a map. So the specific purpose or the purpose of a map is one of the factors for the contents of the topographic map. And also the scale of a map, the date of completion, and nature of the land represented are also factors that determine the contents of a topographical maps. Well, the second type of map which is considered in this chapter is special purpose or statistical maps. These are maps which show distribution of different aspects such as temperature, rainfall, settlement, and vegetation. So generally this special purpose map is one that has been designed or modified to give information not covered on standard maps. What are the marginal information on a map or the elements of a map? The elements of a map are title, key, scale, north arrow, margin, date of completion, type of projection, place of publication and publisher, and author. So these are the elements of a map. Now we'll see the principles of map reading. What are the principles of a map reading? So in developing map reading abilities and skills, the principles, the basic principles must be applied by the map readers to translate map symbols into landscape images. Map readers must have ideas about the symbol and also the real world or the landscapes. Every map symbol must be visualized by the readers to read a map. And the first symbol introduced should be those which refers to landscape features of which the reader already has some images. So the first symbol introduced should be those which refer to the landscape features of which the reader already has some images. Map symbols should be introduced as needed. Secondly, knowledge of direction is an important principle in reading map before locating features, that is man-made feature as well as natural features on a map. The north arrow should be determined and the reader should have practice in finding this direction. The reader learn to read directions on a specific map and the location of the features shown on the map in relation to one another. So generally a map covered in a series of lines that make up a grid. So once you have locates where you are or where a place is or where a certain thing is on the map, the grid system make it simple to give an accurate description of that location. So this is a series of numbers known as a grid reference. Thank you very much for having this important times. So goodbye.